Welcome back to another news video. Today we'll be talking about the Nintendo Direct that just came out for March 2025. There were a ton of announcements. We'll just focus on a couple of them, the big hitters really. We'll also be talking about a small but meaningful update to the Steam store page of the highly anticipated Knight Silksong game, as well as the celebration or non-celebration for Bloodborne's 10th anniversary. Plus, we've also got the bonus round where we'll talk about the PS5 release of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the Steam Deck's Playable rating causing some issues and discussion, and we'll also talk about the MMO Pantheon's 2025 roadmap release. All news articles sourced for this video will be sourced down in the description below. Like, sub, do all the YouTube stuff. Let's get into it. So I just watched the Nintendo Direct and it was full of game announcements paired with trailers, release dates. To put them all in one video, it would probably take about as long as the Direct took, which was roughly 25 to 30 minutes long. So some of the big standouts, there's a Dragon Quest 1+2 HD 2D remake. I've never played the Dragon Quest games, but I am fond of beautiful JRPGs. This is one of them. It uses this fusion of 2D and 3D. It looks really neat. For any fans, I'm sure they're going to be very excited for this title. There's also several other RPGs on the list. Raidou Remastered. It's an Atlas RPG. Atlas is known for having amazing art, and it looked really good. Shadow Labyrinth also made an appearance. This is the Pac-Man Metroidvania. We got some more gameplay footage from the game, especially moments in the game where you have to use your, they called them pluck, I think it was, but I'm gonna call it Pac-Man. This little Pac-Man drone that follows you around, it morphed into a ball similar to like Samus's morph ball in Metroid. Anyhow, that game's looking pretty good. It's shaping up to be a pretty neat Metroidvania. There was also a Story of Seasons game. It's a farm sim cozy game. I believe this is probably going to be a big one for cozy game farm sim fans. We also got an updated showing to Metroid Prime 4 Beyond. This is my most anticipated game of the year, next to Doom. But we got a preview that showed off a new planet called Vuros, which I describe as being this like cool jungle biome. This biome has some ancient architecture, kind of in this sprawling environment full of like foliage and brush. The trailer also showed off some scanning and exploration, which I believe was introduced in Super Metroid with the scanner, but they've evolved this in the Prime series where you use the scanner to get lore from the environment, get information, and it also helps with some like puzzling. They also introduced some alien creatures and had a couple of segments of combat with Samus, dodging these alien jungle creatures as they were swiping at her, and I think some of them even had like projectile spit. So yeah, the combat and the shooting looked pretty good, but I think a standout feature that they showed off, which is brand new, is that Samus now has psychic abilities. These abilities allow you to operate mechanisms, open doors, and even control your gun beams. So after you take a shot, using your psychic abilities, you can guide your shot. Look pretty cool. There seems to be a mystery surrounding your powers, like why do you have them? Who gave them to you? We'll probably find out as we play the game once it releases. As usual, they showed off the morph ball, like traversing through this jungle environment through tight vines. There's also a new tail hinted, sort of hinting at us that the Metroid series is going to be continuing. And where does Samus' story go from here? So I'm really looking forward to that. And last but not least, we even got a teaser at the end of the segment for Metroid Prime 4. They showed off a new suit. It looked sleek. It was red and black. Reminded me of a sports car. We'll just have to wait and see, once we can dig in and play this game. But yeah, so that was one of the major announcements. We also had several more. There was another sim game, I'll call it a witch sim cozy game called Witchbrook. Kind of gave me some like Harry Potter vibes mixed with Stardew Valley. We also have Gradius Origins, which is, that's a throwback to a classic shooter game where you control a ship on a 2D side-scrolling game. It's like a bullet hell. Some of the hardest games in the genre. It's a collection of 7 of the classics, including a brand new release in that collection. I'm old, so I appreciate Gradius. I'll probably pick this up at some point in the future. There's a Pokemon Legends ZA. That's a brand new title to the series. I'm not a Pokemon fan. I haven't played a Pokemon game, but I just thought I should let you guys know. Forgive me for not being a Pokemon fan. Additionally, we had a reveal of a system that they are going to be calling the virtual game card. And what this allows is it allows you to play different digital titles in your library between different devices. I'm pretty sure this is in preparation for the Switch 2. A lot of people who already own a Switch are probably going to buy one. Now they've got 2 Switch devices. They have a digital library, right? So how do you share these digital libraries between the devices? Virtual Game Card is their solution to this. So you've got a management screen. You can load and unload games to your virtual game card, and that can be played on your other systems. Unfortunately, local communications with that other system are required the first time you do this. So yeah, that's a small little hurdle you'll have to jump over in the beginning. But once it's done, you can lend out your virtual cards to any of your family members that are under your Nintendo account. So you can share your digital game library amongst different devices under that account. So that's pretty cool. I love this. There's some physical games that I will purchase because I love those games. But a lot of my collection today is all digital. It's just easier. I can go from one device to the other, download the game without having to like fumble discs and rely on CD drives, things like that. So this is pretty cool. After that, there were more games. There was this sizzle reel that showed off a handful of games. But towards the end, I was actually impressed by a Marvel game that is a 2D beat 'em up side scroller called Marvel Cosmic Invasion. So that's something that I'm going to keep on my radar. As a huge Marvel fan, I'm excited for this. And Miyamoto also made an announcement at the end. He recognizes that the impact of the direct events to the Nintendo audiences is huge, which I guess they didn't anticipate that to ever be the case. But yeah, every time there's a Nintendo Direct, everyone gets hyped, right? Everyone always looks forward to it. So to serve their audience, to give them more news, bite-sized news over time, they're going to be introducing a smart app for mobile devices. And it's called Nintendo Today. This is where they're going to be pushing news on upcoming games, releases, gaming topics, and even some fun stuff like art from select video games. But yeah, that was the Nintendo Direct in summary. I'm going to post a picture here on the screen that is my notes. It's a full listing of all the games that were announced, and there will also be a link down in the description below for more details on when these games will come out. And yeah, stay tuned because there's another Nintendo Direct coming next week, April 2nd, and that is going to be focused on the Switch 2, so super hyped for that. We'll be covering that here on Grit Gaming Channel, so make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. So next up in gaming news, we're going to be talking about Knight Silksong. This game has been under development since 2019, or at least it was announced in 2019, and I'm a huge fan of Hollow Knight. I love that game, and as many of you, we are hotly anticipating this upcoming sequel. Well, the developers recently updated their Steam store page, which got everyone excited, but it's a pretty small update, and while it's not really showing off any like new game details, things like that, I think we can all appreciate it, knowing that this game is still cooking and it's eventually gonna come out. Hopefully we'll get an update soon. But anyhow, on the Steam's repository, there was an update to the copyright for the game, which was changed from 2019 to 2025. So that's sparked up some speculations like, oh my god, the game's going to come out in 2025. I don't think that's the case. As someone who has worked on games, you know, your IPs need to keep an updated copyright. So this is just a sort of behind the scenes developer upkeep for their title. The other update that we got out of this is that Knight Silksong is going to support NVIDIA GeForce's cloud streaming service known as GeForce Now. And this is pretty significant because it means that you'll be able to play this game using that service. You can play it anywhere on any device. The game is also now set to support Steam families for game sharing. If you're not aware what that is, on Steam, you can set up a family group where, as long as other accounts are within your region, you can add them to your family group and you can share your digital library with them. So that's pretty cool. And that's about it, really. So, like I said, this was a very small update. Nothing too significant. Fans are, I don't know, some of them I think are becoming a little impatient since the developers haven't like released any kind of developer updates showing the game off and where it's at. Me personally, I'm willing to wait. We have so many games that we can play today. Games are always releasing. My advice to you, for any of you who are becoming a little antsy, let's let the devs cook. Let's be patient, and in the future, I'm sure we'll see an update for Knight Silksong. And for our last main news story, we are going to talk about Bloodborne. It is currently celebrating its 10th year anniversary. This is such a treasured title for Soulsborne fans. We're all sort of hoping for a sequel or even a remaster, but Sony is just holding on to this IP and not doing anything with it that we know of. So unfortunately, the lack of official support for the game, especially on a 10-year anniversary, is extremely disappointing. So luckily we have community-driven events. So Return to Yharnam is currently running. If you are a Bloodborne fan, maybe it's time to load the game up again and hop into Yharnam and engage in some co-op PvP and just explore that world again, get immersed. So happy 10th anniversary, Bloodborne. Maybe one day we'll get a sequel or a remaster. Until then, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. All right, that's going to do it for our main news stories for the week. But hang tight, we're about to go into the bonus round where I've selected a few smaller news stories, which I found interesting and hopefully you'll also enjoy. Also, if you're enjoying this content, consider subscribing to the channel. Maybe even drop a like while you're down there. Supporting this channel means so much to me, and I greatly appreciate it, so thank you. So there was a new trailer that came out for Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, and it's to announce its release for the PlayStation 5. What was different about this trailer, though, is that it didn't show any sort of like gameplay or, you know, typical video game trailer stuff. Instead, we were sort of treated to a fun, sort of silly camaraderie between two voice actors that are well known in the games industry. First, we've got Nolan North, who's known for playing Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series, which is a Sony exclusive title. I would say this is Indiana Jones, but with more guns and more shooting. You get to explore exotic locations, you're treasure hunting. And then you've also got Troy Baker, who does the voice of Indy in the latest Indiana Jones game. And he does an amazing job, you know, sounding like the original, like Harrison Ford, you know. But anyhow, Nolan North he's essentially welcoming Troy Baker into an exclusive club of adventure games on the PlayStation. So the trailer was pretty fun to watch. They kind of have some small little quips go back and forth, clearly showing the difference between their characters and their motivations. Highly recommend you watch it. I'll have a link down in the description below for those of you who haven't seen it yet. But yeah, this video just seemed like a really fun way to celebrate this new partnership, really, of Xbox bringing their exclusive titles over to PlayStation. For me personally, that's a huge win for gamers. The more places that we could play these games, the better. Not only is it good for the consumer, but I think that's also healthy for the industry. So this is a huge win. The game will come out on PS5 and PS5 Pro on April 17th of 2025. So that's when you'll be able to hop in, crack your whip, and sock some enemies in the face with some sweet, crunchy sounds. So next story in the bonus round is regarding Steam's Steam Deck rating system. We have Grand Theft Auto 5 that is currently marked as playable, but half of the game is inaccessible. So for some players, it may not matter. Essentially, the single player portion of the game, the story mode, is accessible. You can play the game on Steam Deck, no problems. Outside of some tweaks and adjustments that you have to make, such as game settings and maybe even text legibility. But if you picked up the game because you were interested in the multiplayer component, multiplayer is completely unplayable. You can't even access it. And the main reason for this is because GTA 5 uses an anti-cheat called BattleEye, and they haven't implemented the compatibility for the Steam Deck. Now, the developers, or maybe I should say the publisher Rockstar, is currently putting the blame on Steam, on Valve, to fix the problem. But here's the thing, BattleEye supports Linux platforms, and it's really up to the developers to essentially allow for the anti-cheat to work on Linux. So really, this should be Rockstar's job, but they are directing customers to contact Valve support for help for this. So long story short, I think Steam needs to work on this feature. The Steam Deck rating system is not always accurate, and it causes a lot of players to feel misled by the rating system. And for our last story, we're going to talk about Pantheon, which is the MMO from Visionary Realms. This MMO really channels the sort of classic experience from games like EverQuest and classic WoW. They've recently released a roadmap for 2025 and beyond. Some of the big changes they're making is they're going to deliver new content every 6 to 8 weeks, And this development pace is sort of signaling a focus on keeping players engaged with content coming out at a regular pace. Another major thing that came out of the roadmap is the release of an update called The Shattering, which is coming out April 2nd. And this introduces PvP servers. They're going to be consolidating servers as well. There's also an introduction to fresh start servers and an update as well to the PvE rules. They've also got some other updates coming down the pipeline, such as iconic class abilities and class-specific quests. This was a huge request from the community, actually, so it's pretty cool to see that coming through player feedback. There's also going to be some new gear coming out for level 40 players, new content, which includes new zones, quest lines, and storylines, and also a mount and taming system, which is pretty neat. That's something not a lot of MMOs have as a feature. Typically you reach a certain level and you spend gold to get a mount. In Pantheon, it sounds like you'll be going out into the wild and finding your potential mount and taming the animal. So we'll see how far that system goes. Is it limited to just horses, or can I run around using a bear as a mount? We'll just have to wait and see on that one. We've also got some dungeons, raids, and new boss encounters, and some system updates as well. There's going to be a performance optimization update. That's an ongoing thing. Also some visual and sound effect improvements, UI, UX tweaks. I greatly appreciate that effort, actually. As someone who played Pantheon for a good amount of time, the UI is just, it's functional, which is fine. It's an early access game, but it needs some love. Like I said, we're going to have some armor upgrades. So there's going to be enhancements to the armor system, providing players with more customization and progression choices. That's also going to be an effort on weapons in the game. Not only are we getting new weapons with unique stats and abilities, but also expanding player combat options, as well as enhancements to combat. We're also getting enhancements to crafting. The crafting is pretty deep. I went in pretty hard on it, and I didn't reach the end of it. So I'm curious to see what they're going to do with the crafting. Anyhow, I'm going to post the link down in the description below, and also share a quick picture here of the roadmap for those of you who want to pause and take a look at it. But yeah, I highly recommend you visit the link down in the description. That will have more details on this upcoming roadmap for 2025. And that's a wrap for this week's news video. If you have any thoughts that you'd like to share regarding any of these topics, leave a comment down below. I'd love to read what you guys have to say. And if you're looking for more, check out this recommended video right here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.